So my issue is I'm trained in standardized field sobriety, and you've exhibited strong signs. And even after speaking with your first pilot, like the issue is, would you agree to a blood draw to test your blood alcohol content?
No. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Lee Roger Wolfgram, and I am a storyteller. Welcome to the bunker.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Colonel Channel. I am your self-proclaimed commander, Lieutenant Colonel Lee Roger Wolfgram. I am also a criminal defense attorney, and I comment on videos that I select to make some legal point or to make some point, educationally, primarily. And in this video, this is not the first of the videos. For those of you that don't know me, I'm also a commercial pilot. I've been flying my entire career. I've flown commercially. I've flown for the military. So I know what a cockpit is like. And what really surprises me about this video is that the first officer didn't pick up on this. And so I'm just going to jump into the video. Okay, so these are the police coming down the jetway, and it's because a crew member had reported a concern, which is good. I just don't know if that crew member was the first officer or not, because he would be the one that would have the most information.
Ooh, feels good breathing that fresh air. Feels good. Sorry, yeah. Say again? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
You doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so from a legal analysis, all we've got here is some crew member reported some concern. So now they're going to have to develop the specific, particular, articulable facts that will lead them to an investigation. So far, they've got a report.
When was the last time you had something to drink?
The officer quickly asked the pilot when he last had a drink, attempting to establish a timeline for impairment.
Last night?
About how many hours ago?
Like 10 hours ago, at least.
How many drinks did you have?
Had a few beers.
Sir? Define a few beers.
A few beers.
Define a few beers.
Like 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you drink?
Light beer. Miller Lite.
No light?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Who are you with?
My FO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to provide field sobriety with me right now?
No.
Why not?
There's no need.
Well, I can smell an odor consistent with an alcoholic beverage.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Thief.
What is that?
Bro.
So you see, he's put some probably wintergreen flavored chew or tobacco in his mouth in an attempt to conceal the odor. But that alcohol comes through. It doesn't smell like tobacco. It doesn't smell like anything other than alcohol, either coming from the body, from the pores, or from the breath.
Do you have any fresh ones that haven't been in your mouth?
Yeah. Right in my bed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just practice real.
So what they've done is they've isolated him so that they can tell if any odor is coming from him. And when he walked into the cockpit, of course, the cockpit doesn't have the odor of his person in there. And so the cop was in there when he walked in the cockpit. Now he's got the odor of alcohol in addition to the report. So that articulable suspicion.
Or just nicotine.
Yeah. Smells mini.
Minty as opposed to alcohol-y.
So my issue is I don't have a PBT. And like obviously it's so fully booked.
Who would have done that?
Just down here, just,
I understand.
we got the call.
I understand.
I can sense, or I can have I have a smell of a adult beverage coming out of you. I don't know if it's coming out your mouth or your skin. If it's coming out of the port, I get it. But we got to do our test, so find out.
Do I see him?
Would you do field sobriety?
Sure.
Do you have a jacket or something? Because it's kind of
I
cold
do.
outside. I'm gonna do the eyes first. Just watch it. Because obviously I know you're not certified, so like I have to do it, but just watch for clues and stuff. Because this would be a brand new uncharted territory.
We'll do that. We'll go ahead and do one second. Do you have an edict time or pushback?
Yeah,
You do?
we do. I don't have my phone, but and my watch is dead, but it's like in a few minutes.
Well, this can go quickly, but just go real quick. Okay, so do you have any health issues? Anything? I'm sorry, you're a pilot, so you can't have any crazy health issues or any problems or anything. I noticed you wear contact or you got glasses.
I do.
Okay. So I'm just gonna ask you to do it.
We just go away from the passenger. Sure.
Okay, so all I need you to do
Mhm.
is the tip of my pen right here,
Yep.
this little white tip. I'm gonna move it back and forth.
Yep.
I need you to follow it with your eyes. Your eyes only.
Mhm.
You understand that?
Yep.
You don't have any issues doing that for me? Okay. So just pay attention with the
Yep.
tip of this pen. Okay?
Now you see the head movement there? So there's head movement, not just eyes only. And here's what they're looking for. Every person's eyes will ratchet at the far edge of their field of view. When you're impaired, that ratcheting begins prior to 45 degrees. You can't game that test. It's a physiological reaction. It's the little tremors in your eyes.
Alright, for this next exercise, I know it's kind of difficult because it's kind of at an incline. But just on here on this most flat surface, I need you to take a series of heel-toe steps. I'm going to explain it to you. What you're going to do is you're going to put your left foot or your right foot, whichever's more comfortable. I'm left-handed, so I'm using my right foot first. You're going to go heel-toe. And if you just take a step to the side really quick, you're just going to take a series of heel-toe steps and count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you do that until you get to 10. Make sure you count out loud. Make sure you go heel-toe. Don't look down. Don't put your arms out for balance. Do you have any issues with that?
No problem.
Okay.
Very key things with this particular test. People think they do well on this test. Keep your eyes down or keep your eyes forward. Don't look down and don't pull your arms from your sides for balance. And people think they do this test perfectly. I get all the time, I get people, well, I did the field sobriety test. Well, if you pull your arms out for balance, if you're looking down, if you're not counting the right amount, if you don't do that little turn in the exact right pivot, that's going to be a cue of impairment.
I'll walk here. So it's well.
You can start right there. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
You may begin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
You turn around and go the other way.
1.
Okay, well, that wasn't standardized because he just said, go back the other way. But what he demonstrated was a pivot with a small series of small steps around the pivoted toe point. So already it's not a standardized test because it's not being performed to standard. The instructions are not standardized. Balance.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
All right, if you step down on this little platform. All right, so this next test is called the one-legged stand. So what you're gonna do is whichever foot you prefer, whichever one you feel like you have a stronger balance with, you're just gonna, with your hands at your side, put your foot out in front of you like this, and you're gonna hold it, and just count out loud 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Is that okay? You stop. Okay. Here we go.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10, 1,000, 11, 1,000, 12, 1,000, 13, 1,000, 14, 1,000, 15, 1,000, 16, 1,000.
Okay, you can stop. Just do me a favor and just hang out really quick. Here's a minutes back. I just gotta go talk to them for a minute, okay?
Okay, so what they're doing now is they're developing the specific articulable suspicion of
I
impairment.
saw it, yeah, the next diagnosis. I didn't really see it in the walk inside, but I definitely saw the next diagnosis. So
So the nystagmus was the eye test.
yeah. So at this point, what would it be? DUI less safe if he doesn't agree to a blood draw, or? Can you come out here so I don't have dispensaries in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys work only at the airport?
Yes, ma'am.
I know there was a law enforcement. I just looked at an internship at the airport. I can get down to come off.
Yes, sir. What's going on? So my name's Corporal Best. I'm the supervisor right now with the Airport Police Department. So did you guys know I had a few drinks last night?
I met him. We had a drink, yeah.
Okay. So my problem is that right now, Sam, talking to you, I don't smell anything coming off the unit. I can smell a very strong odor, alcoholic beverage coming off of him. That's a huge issue, regardless in general, whether we were standing on the side of the road, the Toyota Camry was right next to you. But it's an even bigger issue because there's what, probably 100 million.
There's not that many people. It doesn't matter. It's not the point, yeah.
But the issue is, I can detect it. And so, obviously, I don't know where you guys are based out of, where the hub is, but with the FSD that I just put him through, he did exhibit signs of impairment on top of the other officer as well. So, I'm going to make a phone call to my supervisor, but there's a very strong possibility, or very strong probability, that he's going to be taken charge of the detention center for the willful intent to operate an aircraft while intoxicated. So if you need to start making some roll calls, I'm just going to start doing it, okay?
Can you imagine that phone call to the airline's operations is going to suck? The pilot just got pulled off for DWI. All these passengers now have to deplane, get rerouted because that plane's not going anywhere. So that's a problem. And then secondly, we've got the issue here of the commercial, because he's a commercial pilot. The impairment standard is much lower. It's not like a driving 0.8 test. When you're talking about moving things commercially, those thresholds go way down. The normal signs of impairment at 0.04, you may not even notice. But in a commercial environment, that's impairment. So it's a difficult call to make, and they are just deciding to make that call in the favor of safety, ultimately to get a blood test. And I'm sure the airline also has a criteria for that as well.
I was going to put into FST because it's looking strong signs. So I've already told him to go ahead and start making the phone calls because, yeah, I told the airlines to do it. And it would be what, DUI for the willful intent of operating an aircraft? Well,
Yeah, because it's commercial, you can't have any impairment on a commercial aircraft. Latest like CDLs, you know, they don't have a presumptive alcohol.
All right, so do you have any personal belongings on the plane?
I do.
What do you have on there? Just like your go bag and like what's going on and everything?
So here's the issue. When it comes to a commercial pilot or a commercial truck driver or somebody holding a commercial certificate of some sort, the normal impairment isn't the same. And in this one, it'd be any amount with no residual effects. of alcohol.
No.
So my issue is I'm trained in standardized field sobriety, and you've exhibited strong signs. And even after speaking with your first pilot, like the issue is, would you agree to a blood draw to test your blood alcohol content? No. Okay. Well, the issue is when you agreed to the field sobriety, you exhibited the symptoms, and if you're refusing to a blood draw, that's DUI less safe for the willful intention to operate a commercial aircraft.
Seriously?
Yes, sir.
How did I fail? I did everything.
The signs that you exhibited during those 3 tests, I'm able to articulate based off those and the odor coming off of your person. It's very consistent with DUI.
Okay. Well,
Here's another thing people who aren't in the DWI business may not understand, and that is refusal in some states, and particularly in this case, refusal itself is enough basis to revoke the certificate. So you don't get out of it by just refusing. In fact, in some states, the refusal is a greater crime than just plain failing it.
so what do you want me to do?
So what's going to happen is if you don't agree to a blood draw, it'll be DUI less safe. That's the route that we're going to have to take, unfortunately. Okay.
Okay. And if I did agree to a blood draw, then what?
I mean it's a good part of the ongoing investigation.
Right.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but obviously I can't coax you in it. You have your right. You said no. So based off that alone, and based off the field sobriety that you
Even if I gave you blood, then nothing would change,
okay.
right?
That is your willful choice that you were willing to make, but based.
Well, right, because you're not going to get the blood test in time for the aircraft to depart. However, if you did pass the blood test, something would change. You would not have alcohol in your system, and you would these charges would be dismissed, or they would never be charged. However, the refusal itself becomes the problem.
The calls that we received stating that people down in TSA could smell what smelled like alcohol coming off of your breath, and they're not trained. I am trained in odor and alcohol impairment.
That's fine. I mean, nothing's going to change your mind. I didn't even talk to TSA today. I went to KCM.
It's operated by TSA.
Right. Okay. So, all right, I'll get my stuff, but whatever you gotta do.
Okay. Get all the first officer's information.
How about canned? How do you feel about
Is it
a
sparkling?
can? No, this is flat water. We have
No,
sparkling.
I wasn't afraid it
No,
was going to
yeah, no, we just want easier to recycle.
So, I don't believe that they're going to allow you to keep all this at the jail. So we're just going to log into our evidence here. So that way, once you get bailed out, you come back here, there'll be a property sheet and everything. So you'll have to come back out here. Then the evidence custodian will sign your luggage back out to you. Okay.
I guess. How about my wallet?
You can keep that. And then do you have your phone as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll let you keep those. Unfortunately, just because it's like big luggage and everything, they don't let people keep that anymore. So you can just stand face away from me. Oh, hang on, before you sit down, just put your hands right there, palms up. Just gonna wait a second.
The investigation didn't end there. Southwest Airlines wanted to conduct their own to confirm whether the pilot was too drunk to fly. The officer called his lieutenant, who then contacted higher-ups at Southwest so they could begin their own investigation.
Hi, I'm here with Officer Best, and they have him currently detained in the back of his car. I was trying to explain that we are to be released to us, but I just want to make sure that they hear that that's what's supposed to happen.
Yes. When we have, normally when we have reports from TSA as well, we do get involved because the FAA and the DOT have regulations that we also have to follow.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have to also conduct an observation because that will determine his employment with us. We normally have to have, when there is an incident reported, we have to have a test done on him as well. But first, we do need to conduct an observation to see if there was any sign or symptom, a true smell of alcohol. Does he have any kind of other signs, with his eyes? Usually our leaders they're trained to detect these signs and symptoms.
Yes.
And if there are any of those signs and symptoms, then we would then proceed to have testing done.
Okay, sorry. Okay, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt. My name is Lieutenant Wilder.
So that's how the airline's going to do it without law enforcement involved. But once law enforcement is involved, the airline's procedures are just going to have to follow along what law enforcement is doing. They're getting the same information. But she's reciting something from the book, something from their SOP that says, here's what we do when we have this report from someone and the police are not involved.
You have an inspector coming. Okay, my problem is that when they come like 30 minutes to an hour, and all the stuff that my officer just got through, that he's a certified DUI person as well. But at that time, with alcohol and his test, he failed 2 of them. So it don't guarantee that when your inspector get there,
yeah. So what is your process right now?
As of right now, when Officer Best did his DUI steps, he failed 2 out of 3, and he can smell the alcohol coming from his person.
Well, there you have it. And so that really is the question, right? Because of the low thresholds, any amount of alcohol can be an issue here. So that makes that specific articulable fact that they relied upon to do the investigation easier to establish. As far as the administration of those tests, they were truncated. They were not complete. In other words, the officer had cut some steps out of the instructions. I don't know how useful they are, but here's the problem with those field sobriety tests. A, he's going to have to take it. He doesn't really have a choice. Or they're just going to go to blood tests, which he's going to refuse anyway. But those field sobriety tests, they just make them up. There really isn't any real objective criteria to discern between consuming alcohol, what level of impairment. I mean, when you're obviously hammered, you're obviously hammered, and you don't need those tests. I'm not a big fan of the field sobriety tests because all I think they do is just give them a reason to find something that they can attach to something else, and then guess what? Oh, now we have articulable suspicion. This odor of alcohol in an aircraft is an easy one. Well, until the next time, let's hope your pilot isn't this pilot. If you smell any alcohol getting on the aircraft, you might want to call someone because it doesn't take much to ground the aircraft. Until the next time, this is Wolf 6 from the Wolfgram Worldwide Headquarters out here.